Welcome to Tuesday's edition of Culotta and the Prince, the vlog. I love today's show, man. We had Frank Wilson on today, associate head football coach with the LSU Tigers. He's also the running backs coach and recruiting coordinator. Just bagged another top 5 recruiting class last week. They've handed out 20 scholarship offers for the class of 2016 that they feel really good about after boys from the booth this weekend. Ronald Dupree, student assistant basketball coach. We hung up from that interview, both said on air, future head coach in the game. We've seen him on the bench, really the emotional leader of the Tigers on the bench, and gave a lot of insight about tonight's big-time matchup, a Super Tuesday tilt with Kentucky in town, the number 1 team in America. And the last time this basketball program beat number 1 in the regular season was back in 2002 when Ronald Dupree was the starting small forward.
We're talking about some great assistant coaches on LSU's campus. Okay, you're talking about some guys that have a lot of potential to be head coaches, but you're talking about guys that have had some great experiences. And when you talk about what Dupree was able to do in 2002 and what he can talk to those young guys about today in terms of not being just blown away by what the uniform says. We played the Rocky music all day today. We kept talking about the upset. How it would be a great upset. And it would be. It would be a fantastic upset. But what this team has to do more than anything when they come out here is just play the guys that are on the floor. They're not playing the legend of Kentucky or Adolph Rupp or any of these other guys that have come through there. They're playing this team this year, 40 minutes. I personally think that Kentucky's going to win. I think they're the best team in the nation. They haven't showed me thus far. LSU hasn't showed me thus far they could put together 40 minutes that could beat this team. But you know what? That's why they play the games.
Absolutely. And the thing about this Kentucky ball club is they've won in all different types of fashions. I mean, we saw them beat Kansas by 30 early in the season. We saw them go to double overtime in College Station when Texas A&M eke out a victory there. Same thing with Ole Miss in Rupp Arena. 68-61 just a couple of days ago down in Florida in the O'Connell Center. Either way, they're 23-0, 10-0 in conference. One thing that you and I have agreed upon, LSU's going to bring effort and energy tonight. That's one of the things that we've been looking for, that sense of urgency. I think the name on the chest will bring out that in this Tiger team.
Yeah, there's no question. They'll be motivated because of that. We've seen this team play down to the level of their opponent in games against Missouri and Auburn, South Carolina. Even in a game like Texas A&M, and a Texas A&M team that's proven to be pretty good, they had a double-digit lead late in that game, and they still end up losing that game. I want to see this team put together 40 quality minutes. Look, the reason I don't think that they're going to win tonight is because of the way they've played down against those opponents, which I also think that they'll play up to the level of this opponent. I just don't know if they've got enough in the tank to win. Everybody talks about last year beating that Kentucky team. That Kentucky team last year was good. I think this team is better. Yeah. That LSU team last year, you had monstrous games. Johnny O'Brien had 29 points. Siobhan Coleman had 13. Are there people that can fill those roles in this roster this year? I haven't seen those guys that could do that. Tim Quarterman's got to step up. He's got to have a big game. And this has to be the game that Martin and Mickey realize, okay, if I want to be drafted, I need to go out tonight and prove it on the court against these pros.
Really good conversation with Frank. And once again, another coach comes on here and throws bouquets at offensive line coach Jeff Grimes.
Yeah, and it's funny because about 3 weeks ago, the huddle one day was filled up with, why'd we hire this guy? He can't do anything. And you heard the just pure joy in Frank Wilson's voice about how Jeff Grimes, put together this class. And he also kind of made a little joke about, well, sometimes we have to tune out you guys because of the outside world. But, those guys understood what was going on with that. And talking with Coach Grimes last week, he even showed some relief that they were able to do this. The best thing for this program, for LSU football, is to recruit to their identity. This is a power run team. You got 5 powerful run blockers and a couple of really good running backs. I think it's a great fit for LSU.
Speaking of running backs, he gave his outlook for Leonard Fournette for his sophomore season and talked about really him settling in. Once his freshman season, the game started to slow down. He understood the concept, the ideas, and terminology, and what LSU wanted to do. You really started to see Fournette take off.
You did, and I'm expecting just a monster season out of him in 2015. So good to hear Frank Wilson talk about that. I also talked with him about replacing guys in his team room like Kenny Hilliard, like Terrence McGee, like Connor Neighbors, and the big shoes that he has to fill on that side.
1045ESPN.com, one of the great podcasts today. Good conversation with Frank Wilson and a outlook and preview of tonight's matchup between Kentucky and LSU from student assistant coach Ronald Dupree. Remember, we're on Twitter at 1045ESPN. You can hear Culotta and the Prince every weekday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. right here on the Baton Rouge Sports Talk leader, 1045, 1049 ESPN Baton Rouge.